You ever hear of Machiavelli? Who? Machiavelli. It's a famous writer from 500 years ago. Availability. That's what he always said.
Availability?
That's right. Listen to me. I can live anywhere I want to. You know why I live in this neighborhood? Availability. I want to stay close to everything. Because being on the spot, I can see trouble immediately. Trouble is like a cancer. You gotta get it early. If you don't get it early, it gets too big, then it kills you. That's why you gotta cut it out. Ravish? Huh? Come on. You're worried about Louis dumps. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Worry about yourself, your family, the people that are important to you. That's what it comes down to. Availability. The people in this neighborhood that see me every day, that are on my side, they feel safe because they know I'm close. And that gives them more reason to love me. But the people that want to do otherwise, they think twice because they know I'm close. And that gives them more reason to fear me.
Stop the cap!
I can summarize my mentorship video just in saying this. You have to be present. And this is to the woman that had the conversation with Captain Solo. And Captain Solo, relayed most of the conversation or the highlights back to me. I don't know exactly what was said, but the highlights. And, initially, I pushed back on Captain Solo, on this front because, I brought up, like, Captain Solo thinks and operates as a childless man. And once you start getting into, when we're talking about repairing the community and people moving back into a community, even if they, take over a demographic area, it's a logistical nightmare. It's a logistical nightmare in terms of financing funds from, the banks, which we already know we don't get, redlining, home improvement loans. That's a logistical nightmare. Even the black women that you're with, especially the ones that are talking about luxury movement and lifestyle, if you're not going in there as a, single childless man, then you have to consider, what she would want. And, this rolls into problems with, how dare a black woman suggest that black men fix up the black community as some sort of qualifier, for black male leadership when A, she doesn't even fundamentally believe in black male leadership like that. She thinks it's some Eurocentric idea or concept. And then B, even if the community was fixed up, she wouldn't want to live there. She still wouldn't want to live there because of, I don't know, the myth of white womanhood, the idea that, she's, levitating above everybody else with her classist self, so at the end of the day, it starts looking like a busy assignment. But aside from, a woman who doesn't want to live there because apparently in her mind, no matter what black men put together, it won't be good enough, which, try to start out a project telling men that whatever they put together won't be good enough for you to want to live in. And, they're not going to want to start, period. Obviously black men need to carve out a space for themselves, but as it pertains to doing it for black women, if that statement were to ever be verbalized, oh, we want you to fix it up, repair the community, this, that, and the third, but it'll never be good enough for me to want to live in, that's a big problem. The other thing is the mentorship. It's not even just the mentorship, it's being present. And this goes back to the clip that you just saw at the beginning of the video of A Bronx Tale, and when Sonny was explaining to Cologino why he lives in the neighborhood. Availability, right? Because you're going to have to tackle and deal with and address the myriad of problems in real time. And the young people that you're trying to inspire or be mentors to, they need to see that in real time. They need to see black men deal with, black men who sexually assault, underage girls. They need to see that in real time. They need to see black men running the drug dealers off of the street, not on this corner. They need to see that in real time. The girls need to see that in real time. when it comes to training and teaching boys, not only teaching them the skills that they would need, but also teaching them, how to conflict resolution, how to deal with, other men, how to deal with each other and men outside the community as well. And when it's time, to beat a motherfucker's ass too. You know what I mean? Because again, what women are unaware of is all conflicts cannot be, resolved with diplomacy. The world of men, there is always a line in the sand and a point to where, great physical bodily harm is on the table. The threat of violence is always there when men are, interacting with one another. I mean, you can see this all the way down to childhood because even when you look at a man for too long, stare at a man for too long, they take it as a challenge. They take it as a threat. If you sit a bunch of kindergartner boys, in a classroom, um, they'll sit in a single file line. You know what I mean? Or in like a almost like a bent wedge or something like that. They're not going to sit in a circle like girls are where they're making intensive amounts of eye contact. Boys are not going to do that because that is seen as a challenge. Like, what are you staring at me for? So there's a whole, instinctual hardwiring that women they don't get it because they're women. But being present, no, you got to deal with these problems in real time so that people have the faith and confidence in you when it comes to handling business. Clearly, we have a number of black women that don't have the faith and confidence in black men, which is primarily why they don't want to live there. Or live in the community. They don't even, it's an abstraction. They don't even think that the community can be fixed, even if all black men, all hands on deck, showed up. That's how little faith, they have in black men, aside from all the feminism and the matriarchal stuff where they don't want to subscribe to black male leadership. So that's a two-part problem. Like not only do you lack the faith in black men's abilities, you really don't care for black male leadership, period, at the end of the day. And this is, again, colorism and self-hate and all that other, smoke and mirror stuff off the table. This is why a lot of black men are going out there and getting with other races of women. This is why that happens, because nothing can be done if anything I have to offer isn't good enough. And then on top of that, when it comes to, a black male leadership, I mean, the level of resistance is just, it's over 9,000. It's insane. It's insane. And then, when it comes to the arguments about mentorship, okay, if you don't believe in black male leadership, mentor the black boys to do what? To just be responsible and not have control over that which they're responsible for? That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And again, like what has been going on are black women trying to renegotiate the social contract between black men and black women to try to get some level of black male productivity, the same level of productivity or close to what they see in the white community without black men having control, having say. And without the black male leadership component, and that's not going to happen. It's just simply not going to happen. And especially in the background, where you have women saying one thing, but then when you look at women's actions, when you look at who they're sleeping with, when you look at who they're having babies by, when you look at who they think is the most sexy, when you have women saying things like, educated lames fail to, assert themselves. Okay, so assertion is a part of your lust and desire. A male's assertion is a part of your lust and desire, for these guys. Right. And then we get into these like twisted dynamics, where women, they want to be dominated in the bedroom, but dominated nowhere else. They want a black man to be aggressive and, handle the world and check everybody and punk everybody and scare everybody and intimidate everybody. But somehow when he comes home, to you, he bows down before the queen and taketh thy knee. Like that's unrealistic. It's not going to happen. A man that is the type to go out there and quote unquote conquer the world is not the type to bow down to a woman. Period. So a lot of you all have these sort of, delusional thoughts, in your head. And again, it's a busy assignment. I mean, that's just what it is. It's a busy assignment. The idea of, oh, they must fix the community so that you can what? Not live there. Right. And again, I'm not saying that it's an easy situation, just like Cap brought up with the whole, what neighborhood you would move into. We're looking for predominantly black environments, but like I said, it is a logistical nightmare. Imagine being the black man in a two-parent household, heteronormative, cisgendered, a part of a heteronormative cisgender couple, and you're going into a neighborhood and there's nothing there but single moms. The local politicians that are there, even though they're getting their money from white zaddy, right, they're going to, do the song and dance for a single mothered population. They're not going to do the song and dance for the handful of single parents there. I mean, two-parent households that are there, unless those parents, know how to, play the political game, which is tied to owning businesses and, and making contributions and donations and those, extravagant dinners at some hotel somewhere and playing that game, which even a lot of educated black folks, a lot of black folks don't know how to do that. A lot of them are just trying to live their life and live in, a safe community and raise their kids and whatnot. But, and that's another thing, the safety issue. This is why I'm big about, the Second Amendment aspect, because I already know that without the Second Amendment component, anybody going there with nothing but they ass. That's why they move away, because it's too dangerous and too violent. So one of the reasons why my parents moved away was because it was too dangerous and too violent. So you're going to have some enforcers. You're going to have people who are willing to fight, blow people away if need be. You're going to have to put police chiefs and police officers in place that support the people that are about the two-parent nuclear patriarchal family and not playing all this leftist politic, LGBTQ goofy relationship, anything goes sorts of dynamics. Right. It would be nothing but a whole bunch of toxic patriarchal masculinity that's got to be running this shit, because otherwise the women would bring in a whole bunch of goofy shit into this space. Especially the single women, the unattractive women who, they can't, get a guy, to come and wife them up and put a ring on it. I mean, that's a huge part of it. So there's all these other factions of people that are literally trying to tear apart the nuclear family, because they want to be able to go off and do what they want to do, and or they're not able to get themselves involved in the type of relationships and be a part of that that whole dynamic for whatever reason. There's a whole host of reasons. Maybe they don't like the leadership component. You know what I mean? They're not able to attract the type of guys that they would quote unquote submit to or get with. There's a whole issue with that. Then you got the whole thing with single mothers, and how do you deal with that without putting the single mothers down, which would turn them off. And again, they're still a voting block. They're still a voting demographic, right? How do you mentor their sons to for what purpose, to what end, right? Like if I'm mentoring young men, you think I'm going to tell young men that they need to go out there and get with a single mother? You know what I mean? I'm not going to tell them that. I'm going to be like, nah, it was hard enough doing all this. The last thing you need to do is go out here and get the wrong chick, pregnant, or deal with, a woman that has somebody else's seed, right? So you go into these spaces talking like that. about fixing the black community. Once certain people recognize that the fixed black community might just exclude them or not make them the priority, that's a whole fight that you got going on right there. That's going to be a whole issue. And right now, again, we have a majority single mothered households and we have a minority of two parent family households. So how do you make the two parent family households the standard when the majority of people are not in that situation, nor do they have the means or the financial wherewithal to be in that type of situation, right? Because, and that's a whole nother thing, about fixing the black community, because, the economic opportunities are not there. When you got, how even if we talk about, creating black businesses in a city or in this whatever demographic area of black people, how do you compete with Amazon and 2-day shipping? How do you compete with shit like that? I mean, black people would have to be on code, almost to the point that they're basically created their own ecosystem in this interconnected, globalization or globalized type of world. There would have to be connections back to Africa. There would have to be, trying to, produce and create manufacturing in Africa and then ship the goods back into the United States. And then there's a whole political machine with that. Like, how do we bring it back into the United States, without, being slapped with some sort of crazy tariff, which would undermine, the cost, to the consumer. Then you have, like basically like what China does. A lot of the goofy stuff that comes into this country, the cheap stuff, the Tenmu and the Ali, Express and everything. Yeah, there's Chinese people in New York. Every time I order something from AliExpress, I get these packages that come from Jamaica, Queens. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, why are these packages come from Jamaica, Queens? Maybe they got a warehouse over there or whatever. But I guarantee you there's some Chinese people getting on the phone, talking in Mandarin to some of the people in Shenzhen and shipping the packages over and everything. That they coordinated all that. That's what you're going to see. You're going to see that level of group economics. You're going to see vertical integrations of businesses, not just horizontal businesses like what the black community has, where we don't control, the raw materials all the way up to the final consumer. That's vertical integration. What else? I talked about the self-defense opponent, just the whole thing about bringing, their family there. That's going to be a problem for people. And I mean, it should be recognized that, why is this important? Because again, we see all the disrespect that goes on when you're not in the black community. Yeah, you could go and live in a predominantly white neighborhood and it's a nice neighborhood and all that, but then you got to deal with the self-hate of your, in your children. You got to deal with, them dealing with racist bullshit. You have to deal with racist bullshit, in that environment. Not all the time, but, it pops up every now and again. Like when you saw those truck drivers that went to what was it? I don't even know what it was. Was it the Cracker Barrel? And they didn't want to be, they didn't want to serve them, all type of fuck shit like that. You know what I mean? If you have your own, your own community where you reside, last thing an Asian person, a Chinese person in Chinatown is worried about is racism. It's the last thing that they're worried about because they're in their own environment. They're not dealing with that nonsense. And black people don't have a home base in America. Black people are just spread out all willy-nilly. I mean, we have some deeper concentrations, along the Bible Belt. And I'm saying if the Bible Belt is already there, then, people, I know people are moving back down south. That's a thing. But even we've seen some of the resistance there, like even that the situation, I forget what state it was, where there was a mayor and he lost and the black guy won and then he doesn't want to concede. You know what I mean? Like they're doing all type of stuff and blocking, and then they got racist police chiefs and everything. Like the white people are still, doing a whole bunch of fuck shit down there. So, I think what Cap was talking about was primarily, a Northeast thing, like cities like Philadelphia, Boston, New York, some parts of the Rust Belt, Cleveland, Ohio, Columbus, areas where, we are present, Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, some of these places, Baltimore. To go back in there and revitalize, these areas. But, one of the big problems is the crime, and the crime is not going to go away unless there's economic opportunities. And currently, right now, like there is no boom. There is no, and then other things. Look, when it comes to repairing the class lines that a lot of uppity black people want to maintain, those will have to be blurred. Those lines are going to have to be blurred, as opposed to people trying to maintain these sort of class divisions that mirror the white community. Like example, yes, we do have a disproportionate number of black men that have felony convictions. Okay, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do about that? Are we gonna throw people's resumes out because they have a felony conviction? Right? What type of felony convictions is a no go? I mean, right? People would argue, something like murder would be a no go. Okay, well, what about whatever, narcotics with the intent to distribute, something like that? That's a felony charge. Are you going to hold that against the guy trying to get a job and let him work for you? I'm saying, even if we did magically some way we're able to create some sort of business, to where we could hire, men in the neighborhood, men in the community. Again, it's a logistical nightmare, from all angles. Even the fight with the black people who are educated and, living the life and everything else like that. Like, you have the reality of, okay, here they come with some nice stuff. Here the guy is parking his 8 Series BMW in front of the house that he's trying to renovate. And, how far, are Ray Ray and Pookie? How many blocks away are Ray Ray and Pookie? Are they within walking distance? Are they within bus, take the bus, type of distance? Right. And this is what I'm saying about, what are we going to do about the security? Even if you wanted to go in there and move to that location. Then there's the other alternative where people talk about, just, going off like and creating a community like Soul City, where it's like you just go and find some farmland and then build a bunch of houses and then call that a black community. Right. But I mean, yeah, the farmland tends to be in the middle of nowhere where there's no hub, there's no economic opportunities, there's none of these things. So how would that work? Would this be a community of a whole bunch of people who work online? Like, what would that be? I mean, I always try to figure out, like, even when it comes to like these call centers, I know that they're outsourcing and whatnot, but there's a lot of stuff, IT stuff, that can be done online. I do think that black people need to look at some of the stuff that can be done online if manufacturing is dead, because all that went overseas, not just because of black people, but because of the white oligarchs who, basically wanted, cheaper manufacturing. They're trying to mask it underneath, well, these people are highly skilled and there's a concentrated area of highly skilled people. And yeah, but you're still paying them less than what you would pay an American. Fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? So, these are just some of the things, some of the issues that arise. But the bottom line is, you have to be there. You're not going to see a Jewish community with no Jewish leaders in it. You're not going to see a Chinatown with no Chinese leaders in it. You have to be present if you're talking about you want to be the model or the example, or people should think, act, and behave like you. And then you're not even there. I've witnessed that myself in the city of Philadelphia. I've witnessed that myself, with this sort of, we will come down and have a meeting and, talk to young black youth and give them words of encouragement and inspiration, the business of inspiration bullshit. And then as soon as the conference or the meeting is over, okay, little niggas, I'm done inspiring you, up and away. Right. And then they like fly off, and then you don't see them for another 6 months. That does not work. That does not work. The boomer niggas and the Gen X niggas, oh, they love that shit. They love to do that shit and feel like they're doing something. And it ain't doing shit. As we can see, when you look around and you look at this 6 o'clock news and you look at what's going on in the inner city right now. Okay, murders, every time I turn on the news is somebody getting killed and whatnot. And they have no control over these young men. They fear, these young men. You know what I mean? That's why, like, when I made the video, talking about the Nation Islam, it's a totally different generation. Those guys, what is Farrakhan, 90 years old now? You know what I'm saying? Even the people that would have been his soldiers, are in their like 60s and 70s. You know what I mean? Like and then the young vanguard, again, we don't see them. They're not present like that. You know what I mean? They're not stopping anybody. They're not putting hands on anybody. They're not shooting anybody and people go, "Oh, you heard what happened to Tyrone? Man, yeah, man, he got caught slipping. He went out there and he was beating on his girl and the Nation pulled up." Like, that does not go on. Ain't nobody talking about that. They talking about, this gang GDK and all this other shit. That's what they're talking about. Colors and sets and local street gangs. That's who runs shit currently. And that will have to be dealt with. And I do think that many of those, if they were given economic opportunities, they would get off of the shit that they're on. Where they can actually, the type of money that they can actually start their life, purchase a home, get a girlfriend that becomes a wife, raise a family, put presents underneath the Christmas tree and everything else. But again, where is anybody paying those type of wages, especially the young black men? So, without that, everything else is just wishful thinking, real talk. So when people sit there and they want to talk about, oh, black people and they leave the community and they don't do this, don't do that. First off, you're looking at the second generation of people who, like myself, were born outside of the community because my parents were the first generation, who left. And so, to talk to them, to go back in there, yes, we need a spot in the location, but they don't know what's going on. They have no ties or connections, to the streets and what the local politics are. I mean, this even goes back to Ice-T when he was up there talking about, he was like, I mean, I don't go back to the hood. He's like, I don't have any clout there. You know what I mean? Like, they don't recognize me as any sort of force. He's like, I'm not tied in. He's like, when you're there, you know what's going on. What's happening. But when you're out of that environment for so long, on top of, generations go by and people are in and out of the game and whatnot, you're not tied in like that. As a young man, you're tied in. But as an older man, you're not tied in like that.
I don't really fuck around in LA. Like, I survived LA, but I don't go back and hang out. Like, nigga, you go back to the block now. You go back to prison? You went to prison. You go back to visit, nigga? Nah, I don't, because I made it. And you're safe when you got your boots on the ground. I don't care what neighborhood you're from. You're safe when you got your boots on the ground and you know everything that's happening, everything's moving. But once you leave and you come back, you're not tied in like that. What did I learn? It's not my rep. It's the nigga that's putting a foot in their ass on a daily basis that they scared of. They don't know shit about me. So therefore, in the hood, my card is invalid to these little niggas. They don't give a fuck. I'm an old nigga. So fuck that. I'm not hanging out. I can't hang out no more. I'm not supposed to be there.
And those are the type of things that you need to know. And yes, that is tied to building a relationship with young men that fuck with you and, that you have a rapport with and whatnot. And they put you up on game. What's going on? Da, 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 da. Oh, this is about to go down. All right, we going to stop that from going down. And make a bunch of phone calls. And then a bunch of older black men also show up. No, but no young man wants to go up against that. Go up against, young and old people, and again, I talk about, violence, the Second Amendment, everything else like that. And, when you're young people, when they get down like that, and then your older people have no reputation whatsoever of getting down like that, or they're not smart enough to hire some muscle that is connected and tied in. And even that can get messy, because what happens when you hire some muscle and then you get into it with your muscle, you know what I mean? And then your muscle one day turns on you and you sitting there like the white dude, with Bane, what I mean, talking about, I paid you a lot of money, and you think that gives you power over me? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like you don't want that. So I don't know how, you can, stave that off. Like basically you got to have the watcher who watches the watcher, type of shit. You know what I mean? So you got to have the goons that you hired that as the muscle, and then you got to have the other set of goons that, are basically there, if your primary goons get out of control. But then again, what happens if they form Voltron on you, and want to, remove you, but I hopefully if you're doing the right things in the community, you don't have you have individuals that you have really built some serious bonds with. You put them on, you've taken care of their moms. It's things like that that you got to do that will have people significantly less likely to double cross you, and and more likely to let you know, when somebody, is trying to undermine you, because they're like, nah, man, it's the motherfucker. If it wasn't for him, my kids wouldn't be going to such and such school. They wouldn't have this. They wouldn't have. Nah, hell no. I can't let this. Let some sucker ass nigga Nipsey hustle this dude. Fuck that. You know what I mean? Like, so there's a whole thing, a whole, connection, community, dynamics that you got to be a part of. And the only way that you're gonna be connected in or linked in like that is you got to be on the ground. You got to be present. You got to be, quote unquote vulnerable. And the reality is nobody wants to do that. Again, that's why I'm big on, the Second Amendment shit. At the end of the day, you're not going to make an omelet without cracking some eggs. You know what I'm saying? The bottom line, you start talking about educated lanes moving back into the community and the way that it needs to be done, in my mind, there's going to be a few people who won't be here in the year 2030. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be a few people who went missing, disappeared, something happened, in 2024, 2025, or whenever black people decide they want to, build up a community. It's just a part of it. Because what do you do about the Negans? What do you do about, those individuals that are like, Mekhi Phifer's character in Paid in Full talking about, I love the game. What do you do about the I love the game, type of people when you're trying to have a safe and secure environment for kids and children and all that, right? Right now, like I said, majority of people, they're gonna get off the bullshit if you go in there with economic opportunities and really clean it up. I've already seen it. Okay, at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that are in the game, but they do not want their kids in the game, and they do not want their kids violated or touched. I mean, people can say what they want about, the inner city and the city of Philadelphia. Go ahead and try to find me an article, find me something where a Philadelphia school teacher was attacked outside of the school in the community, was robbed on their way to the car in the parking lot. You ain't gonna hear none of that. Now, do they get into it with students in the school, student on teacher? Yeah, sure they do. But the neighborhood doesn't fuck with the educators because they already know, the what it takes, the courage and everything else, and the stigma, and people saying, oh, don't go in there, I don't want you being a teacher. When it comes to them coming in there, you know what I mean? And that does include, some of the white teachers. Even though, I do, feel some type of way about, the overabundance of white teachers, especially white female teachers in these predominantly black inner city neighborhoods. That is a problem. Black boys are failing, and white teachers are the ones that are teaching them. And you got to ask the question. It's like, why would a white teacher, teach black boys, to somehow go out here, economically compete, and possibly surpass her own group of men? You got to think about that. It's a reality. It's like, hey, no disrespect, you might have a strong passion for, the teaching in inner city and underprivileged schools. You know what I mean? But we got to keep, y'all at a minimum, because black people should be teaching black students. especially, those in underprivileged and underserved, communities, because there's a whole lot of different dynamics going on there. So, I'm just saying, bottom line, you got to be there. You got to be present. And there is no, especially when it comes to mentoring boys, there is no getting around that. Trying to have a a FaceTime, like the comment that I wrote, it this whole, oh, well, what about using technology and all this other stuff? Again, it's too far. I mean, when I told you that story about, when I was at the Wendy's and the guy was, cursing in front of the little girl, and I was just getting irritated until I got up and I sat right between them and I checked them on the shit. Like, nah, go ahead and say what you're saying, since you like using all this profanity and whatnot right in front of the little girl. Cause I was getting irritated. And the woman that he was with, she checked, she kind of put her hand on him, like, nah, he's right, like, calm down, because he wanted to get all rah-rah on me. But I'm saying, when I dealt with that situation years ago, that was in real time. I I didn't call the woman up and be like, put him on the phone, put him on FaceTime, so I can, freaking, what is it, admonish him. Like, no, that was in real time. And seriously speaking, like there's certain things that'll go down just by you being there, just by being present. There's certain things that are not going to go down just by your physical presence of being there, especially as a man. You know what I mean? But like I said, I wrote to the the woman that I'm talking about with this back and forth exchange. I'm like, you have to be there every day. You have to live in the community and be there every day. The youth have to see you handle business in real time. Uh, um, can you FaceTime against a young girl being sexually assaulted? How about a man beating on his wife or girlfriend? What about running drug dealers off the corner? How about preventing other groups from setting up shop in the community to vacuum money out of it? Can any of that be FaceTimed or addressed by FaceTime? No, it cannot. There's just too many things. The myriad of things that you have to be present there for is insane. It's literally insane. So, like I said, when I was having a conversation with Captain Solo, because we were, he was just trying to figure out like what's good enough and whether somebody's can live there, and if fixing up these homes, is that something? And we talked about how, again, Captain Solo was childless, so for a person with a family, that's something that has to be factored in, because the captain's going in there by himself, where a guy with a family has to consider the safety and security of his family. And then you have the whole aspect of the fact that Cap has some kick-ass, skills. That motherfucker will go into a house with just the frame, and that motherfucker will be sleeping on the floor in a sleeping bag, putting up drywall and light fixtures and everything, and you'll come back to that shit in 6 months, and it'll be a goddamn palace. You know what I mean? You walk in, he got the fireplaces on with the polar bear skin with the mouth open, and just look, he's got a rocking chair by the damn fireplace. It's like, yeah, goddamn, look at this motherfucking Ernest Hemingway looking ass motherfucker. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's how Cap is gonna have his shit laid out. You gonna click on the lights in the basement. He's got a home theater. It's funny. There was a Instagram that I was looking at, and it had a Airbnb that was literally in the middle of, it looked to be North Philly somewhere, like Northeast Philly. He had an Airbnb, and I mean, the shit was laid out. It was laid out. It was like in the basement level, of where they got the row homes, and then they got the garage on the back side, and anyway, the shit was laid out. I mean, it had like a bar in there. It had the big screen television. I mean, you go in there, you almost forget where you at. Like, damn, you in the middle of the hood. But the inside of that shit didn't look like that. So, again, Cap and I, we went back and forth and had a conversation about, the whole, renovating and can you envision it being something? Because the white people, when they go and they gentrify an area that looks like it was just bombed out. It looks like, the South Bronx in the 1980s. They come up with all type of vision and will turn that shit into some place that they want to live because it's close to where they want to be. Black people, on the other hand, we seem to have this sort of, well, I want what the white developers way out in the suburbs are building, and I'm gonna pay 1.5 for that, as opposed to, the white folks that'll go in there, go into the inner city. It's a straight slum. They'll start buying up the block one by one, $90,000 row homes, and then gut the bitch, turn, knock down a bunch of walls, and then turn it into, a palace, and have like these, walkout rooftops and shit overlooking, the city skyline from South Philly, and then put the house on the market, for like, $2 million. It's like, wait a minute, you bought a $90,000 row home, and now it's suddenly worth $2 million. That's another thing. The whole thing about equity in homes. We have a serious problem with, the equity of black homes, because, the way that realtors look at it is we already know white people don't want to move in black neighborhoods. They don't. And the white people are 75% of the population. And then when it comes to black people, you got the black people who don't qualify. You have the other black people who don't want to move into predominantly black communities because there's too much single motherhood, too much, crime, too much, teenage boys, roaming around. And it was so crazy. It's like even this whole thing with the freaking Philadelphia and the white guy, Cody, that jumped on the back of the car and smashed in the window of the LGBT couple. Now they running around Philly, like the video I put on my community tab, snatching up all the bikes and snatching up, because they're illegal. They're not supposed to be on the road. But I'm looking at the neighborhoods where they're snatching these bikes from, and they're not the white neighborhood that Cody is probably from. He was just in on the group, he running around white boy style, thinking that he's a gangster, like the black people or whatever. And here they are snatching up all the bikes, making all these, videos on YouTube about how they're confiscating all the bikes. And that, to me, that's just dumb, because, it's like, if they're riding around the city on their bikes and going up and down Broad, so the fuck what? They're not robbing people. They're not committing crimes, and then people want to get into well, if you let them get away with this, then they'll do this and da 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 da. But I'm like, so the only entertainment that they have, which is the riding of the bikes, you're going to take that away. And then that turns into what? That turns into, what do you want to call it? Then they go out there and start, committing crimes just out of boredom. They start getting themselves, into trouble just out of boredom. I'm like, to me, it's just dumb. It's dumb. On top of the fact that what Cody was riding, and you see all this stuff with there's dirt bikes on the street and this, that, and the third. Cody wasn't on a dirt bike. When you look at the video, that was a motorcycle. If they were actually paying attention, it's just like, the news running around calling every goddamn thing an assault weapon. I'm like, that was not an assault weapon. It was a handgun with a 30-round stick. You know what I mean? But anyway, he was riding around on a motorcycle. He had one of the naked motorcycles, the ones without the fairings on the front. Anyway, that's what he was riding. So why are you running around confiscating dirt bikes and quads and all that other stuff? Oh, they're street, illegal and whatnot. I'm like, okay, so now they got nothing to do on the weekend. And again, they're going to fall into mischief. I'm like, stupid. You know what I mean? Like, create a time or something like that. Yeah, I hear, I'm just saying that to me, it should have been some sort of compromise. You know what I mean? Like, don't do this, yeah, y'all do this and do that, but don't, try not to harass the traffic. Please, can you leave the traffic alone? You know what I mean? Pop wheelies and all this other stupid shit, at your own risk. Because truth be told, who really gets fucked up when they're popping wheelies on a motorcycle? Is it the car or is it the person popping wheelies and whatnot? Now, if we get into stuff like them not having insurance and everything, there's arguments to be had. All I'm saying is the whole, we're going to take away your toys as the solution. I just think it's a bad idea. But that's just me. It's a whole nother conversation. Again, you know, these are the proximity to these sorts of things are what, you know, people are going to have to contend with. And, you know, like I was saying, you know, you move into a predominantly black environment. I don't know what it would take for those property values to appreciate. You would have to have more buyers wanting to buy into that repaired, fixed, pristine community than you know, you have sellers. And oftentimes black people are trying to leave out of a black community and buy into a white community where you have more buyers than you have sellers. And so the price goes up. That doesn't happen. There's no mass migration into any black community to speak of. There's no mass migration, you know. So, you know, and then you end up with the white people that think that they're going to buy some houses, and then, you know, in because I was watching whatever the guy is, the muscle bound dude that's like a realtor down there, and you know, they buy up these houses, and really they're not renovating them for black people. They're renovating them for Blackstone, you know, and Vanguard and all these other companies that are in there, you know, doing the whole, you know, buying up all the property and then trying to turn people into renters, right? That's what they're doing it for. They think they can flip these houses for obnoxious prices. You know, yeah, you know, I bought the house for 110, and then I took the money and I flipped it, and then, you know, and then Blackstone's going to pay me, you know, $700,000-800,000 for the house. That's what they think is going to take place. So that's like screwing up the market. The Airbnbs are screwing up the market. But again, you know, like I said, it's a logistical nightmare. But if you're talking about that you don't care about the logistics, you're going to grit and bear it, and you're going to go in there and you're going to fix and repair and everything else, well, you know, you got to be present. You got to be present if you're going to culturally turn it around. That requires your presence. Anyway, I made this video long enough. That's my video, SWP out. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe.
Fellas, you're not dressed properly. He's gonna have to leave.
Properly?
Jimmy!
What's wrong with the way we're dressed?
What's up? This gentleman ain't dressed right. I asked him to leave.
Is there a problem then? Problem is your man here says we're not properly dressed. Like our money ain't green. We just want a couple of beers.
A few beers, that's it.
That's it. We'll be on our way. We ain't looking for trouble.
Spoke like a gentleman. Give me the beers. Go ahead.
I appreciate it. No problem.
All right.
Got some brews down here, nice cold ones.
Set 'em up.
Get us some nice cold brews. Come on. Two over here, huh?
Set 'em up.
One more over here, one more.
All right, brothers, if I may, a toast to our host.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Look at all these shit all right now. Hey!
Oh, you again, huh?
That wasn't very nice. Now he's got to leave.
I'll tell you when the fuck we leave, all right? Get the fuck away from me.
Go watch the bites, man. Hey, man. Come on. Hey, what? Get out of here. Like, what's the still half empty? Shit, what's the
Now you can't leave.
I will never forget the look on their faces. All 8 of them. Their faces dropped. All their courage and strength was drained right from their bodies. they had a reputation for breaking up bars. But they knew that instant they made a fatal mistake. This time they walked into the wrong bar.
Come on, motherfucker! Come on, you scrappy motherfucker! Come on! Let's go! Come on!
Thou shall never love another.
I shall never love another.
And stand by me all the while.
And stand by me all the while.
Happiness with the heartaches.
Take happiness with the heartaches.
And go through life wearing a smile.
Go through life wearing a smile.
Oh, how happy we will be if we keep the 10 commandments of love.
Step on his fucking head! Come on, get him out of here! Drag him the fuck out! Come on, move!
Love. It's
What's my
so
car?
grand. You define since the beginning of time.
Get him!
It has moved in all oh, how
Hey, you motherfucker! Look at me. I'm the one who did this to you. Remember me. Come on, Sonny. Come on, let's go. You guys get the fuck out. That ruined my whole fucking lunch. Sonny, come on, let's get the fuck out. Sonny, get out of here.